Om Bhurvatsvat Tats Savitura Varayam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhyo Yonat Prachodayat. Om. This is a sacred mantra from the Rig Veda. Rig Veda Mandala 362.10, dedicated to the Vedic deity Savitur. It is known as Mother of the Vedas. A translation by Swami Vivekananda. We meditate on the glory of that being who has produced this universe. May she enlighten our minds. Good morning, more officially, properly, I suppose. I'm the Reverend Alexandre da Silva Soto, Rev suffices, or I got the title this morning of the Barefoot Vicar. I'm taking that. My pronouns are they, them, and theirs. I'm a brown person from Brazil. My hair is silver. I'm wearing asymmetrical earrings, a big golden hoop on one side, a Buddhist mala, a Japanese haori, a stole that reads Black Lives Matter on one side, and end Israeli apartheid in some of the buttons, also as Angry Citizen and Blessed are the Peacemakers. And I'm wearing a beige skirt because some days you gotta be flowing. Prana, Chi, Ruach, Pneuma, Élan vital, vital force, holy wind. It's my holy wind. Breath of life. For those of you that read eBeacon religiously, and thank you, Lauren, for doing it, you might know that there are some questions some of us have been percolating on. And the first one is, what does spirit mean to you? For if we're gathering and reflecting together about spirit, what does it mean to you? This word, spirit, capital S, small s. Another question that was offered to you, what comes up for you when you read or you hear the word the spirit within our context, Unitarian Universalist context? So now I go back to some of the words that may have resonated very true to you and familiar to you, and to some of you maybe not, but you might find out that you know much more than you might suspect. Prana is a concept in yoga, in the Indian martial arts, and in Ayurveda. Ayurveda is an alternative medicine system with historical roots in the Indian subcontinent. It is heavily practiced throughout India, Nepal, Bangladesh, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka, where as much as 80% of the population report using Ayurveda. And by the way, I'm not a doctor, I'm not prescribing. Prana is the Sanskrit word for breath. Prana, life source, or the vital principle that permeates reality on all levels, including inanimate objects. Or so we think. In Hindu literature, prana is sometimes described as originating from the sun and connecting the elements. Now, some of you might have heard also the word qi. Qigong? Qi? or the qi. Qi is a concept in traditional Chinese medicine and in Chinese martial arts. Qi is traditionally believed to be a vital force, part of all living entities. Literally, meaning vapor, air, or breath, often translated as, you're going to hear this often, vital energy, vital force, material energy, or simply energy. The attempt to cultivate and balance qi is called qigong, a discipline, a practice I recommend. Ruach. Do you want to try it out? Maybe, yeah? Ruach. Ruach. And there's a screen over there, and thank you, Jeff, for braving this journey with me. Ruach Elohim. Ruach is the Hebrew word translated as breath, air, and wind in the scriptures. Ruach Elohim is the Hebrew term for God's Spirit. Here's a direct translation from the prophet Ezekiel in the Hebrew Bible, chapter 37, verse 1. Came upon me the hand of Yahweh and brought me out in the Ruach and set me down in the midst of the valley, and it was full of bones. The equivalent word in Greek is pneuma. Any Greek geeks? Pneuma. And you might be familiar with this. And this word, as you're probably guessing by now, means breath. And you're probably familiar with it because you might have seen a pneumologist, or maybe have heard someone that caught pneumonia. In classical philosophy, it is distinguishable from psyche, which originally meant breath of life, but is regularly translated as spirit, or most often soul, your psyche. For ancient Greeks, it's not compartmentalized from your breath of life, from your spirit, from your soul. Now, if I bravely quote the Christian scriptures, the letter to the Romans, chapter 8, verse 6. For the mind of the flesh is death, but the mind of the pneumatos, life and peace. Okay, I'm going to be even braver, and this might be the very first time in history that I have ever quoted the King James Bible. For the purpose of enlightenment, here we go. You ready? Okay. For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. So let's get a little more contemporary from the contemporary English version. If your minds are ruled by your desires or our desires, we will die. But if your minds are ruled by spirit, we will have life and peace. So there's some intertwining there of mind, especially with Greek philosophy and thinking, mind, wisdom, and spirit, also known as Sophia. That, by the way, is the name of one of our beloved new members this morning. Thank you, Sophia, for joining us. We have Lady Wisdom with us. So much has been done from these passages I referred, and even psychology, to compartmentalize the mind, the brain, separate from the body. So I'm not going to go there at all, and I'm not going to exegete. Oof. It's a theological geek term for taking scriptures apart. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to let it float. Let it float with us. And I'm going to instead go back to a very contemporary, some of you might have heard of Cole Arthur Riley. They are the writer of Black liturgies, prayers, poems, and meditations for staying human. And there might be a typo on the slide. It could be say straying human, but staying human or straying human, I can go with that too. So here's the quote. There are people and systems in this world that have everything to gain from our disembodiment, because empty bodies are easier to use. Because emptied bodies are easier to use. Resist. Resist. So I repeat those questions. What do you understand when you hear the word spirit or when you think of the word spirit? And how can one remain embodied in that concept, however you may define it? How does one remain spirited? Spirited. The word psychology comes from the Greek word psyche. Yeah? You with me? Okay. With the suffix ology, which denotes what? Ology. Study of. Awesome. Study of. Now of what? Psychology. Study of what? So I already mentioned, I'm going to repeat it again. The Greek word for psyche has multiple meanings. Not just one, not just the contemporary one. It also means soul, mind, spirit, and life. Life. So let's take a breath and connect with our psyche. However you may define it, however it's been defined to you. And I'll lift up another term, the vagus nerve. Familiar? Not the Viva Las Vegas? Or that, but no judgment. The vagus nerve, V-A-G-U-S, the vagus nerve. The scientific term was popularized by Dr. Resmaa Menakem. Someone familiar with? Yes? Awesome. So Dr. Resmaa Menakem specializes in the effects of trauma on the human body and the relationship between trauma, white body supremacy, and racism in America. Do we need to pay attention to that? We do, don't we? Yes. He's the author of the book My Grandmother's Hands. Familiar with it? It was published in 2017, which contains exercises for connecting with the body and calming the nervous system. And in 2022, he published the book, The Quaking of America, 2022. I'm going to repeat that, 2022. The Quaking of America, an embodied guide to navigating our nation's upheaval and racial reckoning. Anyone read that book? Please put it on your list. He centers on the role of the vagus nerve, what he calls the soul nerve. The vagus nerve, the soul nerve, within the body's parasympathetic system. And he affirms that breathing exercises have the power to calm the vagus nerve within the body's parasympathetic system. And here's a quote. Without your soul nerve, you literally would not be human. But your soul nerve, like your lizard brain, has zero capacity to thinking. Amen for lizard brain? Very active, right here. So here's an extended quote. The soul nerve is not a nerve in the way we typically think of one. It is a highly complex and extraordinary sensitive organ that communicates through vibes and sensations. This communication occurs not only between different parts of the body, but also from one person to another. From one person to another. Vibes. Scientists saying vibes and sensations. I go back to the quote. Your soul nerve reaches into most of your body, including your throat, your lungs, your heart, your stomach, your liver, spleen, pancreas, kidneys, and gut. Both your large and small intestines. It is the largest organ in your body, autonomic nervous system, which regulates all of your body's basic functions. The vagus nerve, the largest organ within our autonomic nervous system. This part of the nervous system was only identified in 1921. 1921. Barely 100 years, yes? And only in the past 2 decades, scientists are beginning to understand it better. So here's a question. Could be rhetorical, could be literal. Science is science. I affirm that. I believe in science. Religion is religion. I have my reservations, but I'm a professional in that field. But what if they were not framed as opposing fields, but maybe complementary ones? The pulpit is draped with a Palestinian kafia. And I would like to once again make the point that one's national identity, one's religious identity are not always the same. And with that observation, and one day I'll talk a little bit more about it, but I will offer you a quote from Rabbi Abraham Heschel. Some of you familiar with Rabbi Abraham Heschel? I bet you are, and you will know very shortly. Supernatural splendor emanates from ordinary acts. The place to look for spiritual substance is in everyday existence. Even the most simple deeds can be full of wonder. Wonder. Do you want to say that? Wonder. Wonder. Do you sometimes wonder? Abraham Joshua Heschel was a Polish-American rabbi and one of the leading Jewish theologians and Jewish philosophers of the 20th century, with a social consciousness that led him to participate in the civil rights movement. And here is perhaps a more familiar quote by Rabbi Heschel. When I marched in Selma, my feet were praying. When I marched in Selma, my feet were praying. And if you can get a glimpse of the screen, you see a photograph, a very popular photograph of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King in locked arms with a number of religious leaders, and not the person next, the person right after, the person next to him is Rabbi Heschel, protesting, marching, and working within the civil rights movement. So friends, I go back to those fancy terms. To earn my keep, for you hired a fancy minister. Prana, chi, ruach, pneuma, élan vital. Élan vital, I haven't talked about it, but I'll be very brief. Élan vital, or the vital impetus, or the vital force, is a hypothetical explanation for evolution and development of organisms. which Bergson linked closely to consciousness, the intuitive perception of experience and the flow of inner time. This concept can be found in the pre-Socratic philosopher Zeno of Elea and the work of the pre-Christian Stoic philosopher Posidonius, who postulated a vital force emanated by the sun to all living creatures and the earth's surface. Did you hear that before? Emanating from the sun? Any pagans in the house? The concept of élan vital is also similar to Baruch Spinoza's concept of conatus, as well as German philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer's concept of will to live. Will to live. So, beloveds, spirit, what a concept. And to talk about it within the Unitarian Universalist concept is daunting. Daunting. That's why I felt I needed to go everywhere with every possible term, with every possible possibility for you to not hold on, for you to be involved or moved by one of these ways of thinking about this thing that might be the glue and the connector between your mind, heart, body, between your body and other bodies, between other bodies and even inanimate or perhaps inanimate objects. And I'll close with one brief story, because this was astounding to me on Friday. As I'm reflecting, a friend of mine sends me a message. This friend is from Poland. We don't talk very often, but the question came, will you help me find a passage in the Bible that I can put on my mother's tombstone? My only reply was, I will need to sit with this. And he doubled down. Well, I will be buried there too, one day. And one day, no one is going to go there and pray. But the wind will. The wind will blow through those words, and that will be the prayer. That will be the prayer. From Albert Camus, you will never be able to experience everything. So please, please, do poetic justice to your soul and simply experience yourself. Simply experience yourself in the wholeness of your beingness. Blessed be. Blessed be.
Hi, I'm Reverend Hannah Capaldi.
And I'm Reverend Abby Tennis. We are the ministers at the First Unitarian Church of Philadelphia, where our mission is to awaken love and justice in our lives and in the world.
We're so grateful that you watched, and we hope that the sermon connected with your soul.
We also want to invite you to join us for a live worship service every Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. You can always find the link to that service on our website at www.philauu.org. In these services, you'll hear words like you've just heard, and you also get a chance to greet one another, pray together, sing together, and we even hold a virtual coffee hour after services to get a chance to greet some new and old friends.
If you want to support the mission of this community and you feel moved to give, you can do so by going to the website that Reverend Abby just mentioned. You can find that link below, or you can text 215-709-5095 and follow the prompts to give.
If someone in your life needs to hear these words today, we encourage you to share this video. And again, thank you so much for watching.
We hope to see you soon.